they never called it a sentence. On the paper he was asked to sign, the word experiment appeared more often than the word prisoner. There were no dates, no return window, no mention of Earth waiting for him at the end. Only silence, clean fonts, and the careful language of people who no longer expected an answer. He signed anyway. By the time he was escorted out of the facility, he had already been erased in every practical sense. No name spoken aloud, no family notified, no record meant to survive him. The transport vehicle moved quietly through the early morning fog. He watched the city pass by through thick glass, noticing how ordinary everything looked. Streetlights still on, empty sidewalks, windows glowing softly behind curtains. It felt strange to know this would be the last time he saw any of it. The launch facility sat far from everything else, surrounded by land that had been cleared, leveled, and forgotten. Inside, the air smelled sterile and faintly metallic. No one spoke to him unless necessary. Not out of cruelty, but efficiency. They guided him into the capsule slowly, almost gently. It was smaller than he expected. Just enough room to sit, just enough space to breathe. As the hatch closed, a dull, sealed sound echoed through the cabin, the kind of sound that does not invite reopening. He waited. There was no countdown he could hear, no dramatic voice. Only a low vibration, building gradually, like a distant storm that never quite arrives. Then movement. Pressure pressed him back into the seat, steady and impersonal. The capsule shook, then steadied, then shook again. He closed his eyes, not out of fear, but habit. When he opened them again, the vibration was gone. Weightlessness arrived quietly. His body floated against its restraints, lighter than it had ever felt. Outside the small window, darkness stretched endlessly. No stars yet, just depth. A calm voice eventually reached him through the speaker. "You are now beyond Earth's orbit," it said. No congratulations followed. That was the last time he heard a human voice. The days that followed did not behave the way days should. Time inside the capsule was measured by systems, not sunlight. Artificial cycles dimmed and brightened the interior, but they felt meaningless. Sleep came when it came. Wakefulness lingered without reason. The experiment required him to do very little. Occasional checks, simple movements, passive observation. Mostly, he was meant to exist. The capsule drifted farther from Earth, though the distance was never announced. Once in a while, he pressed himself gently toward the window. At first, Earth was still visible. A blue shape, distant but familiar. Later, it became smaller, then quieter, then harder to distinguish from memory. He tried to remember the sound of rain, the weight of gravity, the way shadows move during the afternoon. But memory, like signal strength, weakens with distance. One cycle he noticed something unusual. The capsule had adjusted its orientation. Not abruptly, just enough that the window no longer faced where Earth should have been. He waited for an explanation. None came. The systems continued to hum softly. The interior lights shifted to their dim phase. The capsule drifted onward, obedient to calculations he would never see. He realized then that the experiment was not about survival. It was about observation. How long a human could remain coherent when removed from reference, from witness, from return. He did not feel panic, only a gentle loosening. as if the idea of Earth were slowly slipping out of focus. The farther he drifted, the quieter everything became. Not just the absence of voices, but the absence of expectation. The capsule moved on a path he did not control, guided by instructions written long before he ever existed. Occasionally, a soft tone sounded, followed by a brief line of text on the interior display. Status normal. Trajectory stable. Nothing required his response. He floated, hands resting lightly against the straps, breathing slow and even. The hum of the system settled into a rhythm that no longer demanded attention. It was not silence, but it was close. One cycle, when the interior lights dimmed again, he pushed gently toward the window. Earth was no longer there, not hidden, not obscured, simply gone. In its place was a deeper black than he had ever imagined, layered with distant points of light. Stars, yes, but also something else. Depth, scale. For the first time since launch, he felt truly untethered. The realization did not arrive with fear. It arrived like a thought half remembered, already fading as it formed. He watched the stars shift slowly, almost imperceptibly. The capsule rotated with quiet precision, adjusting its course without announcing why. Then he saw it. At first, it looked like a smudge, a faint curve where darkness bent slightly around something solid. A planet, not like Earth, no familiar blues or greens. Its surface was muted, wrapped in soft tones of amber and grey, with slow-moving bands of shadow stretching across it. He pressed closer to the window. The planet filled more of the view with each passing cycle, revealing subtle detail, thin atmospheres curling faintly at the edges, light breaking gently along its horizon. There were no indicators, no labels, no explanation of its significance. It was simply there. He found himself watching it longer than intended, drawn not by curiosity, but by something quieter. Recognition, perhaps, not of the place, but of the feeling. The planet did not ask anything of him. It did not remind him of what he had been. It existed, calmly, without concern for witnesses. Eventually, the capsule drifted past it. The planet slipped out of view, replaced again by open space. No sense of loss followed, only continuation. More objects appeared as time moved forward, or as the systems told him it did. Another planet, larger, its surface hidden beneath thick layers of cloud. A distant moon, pale and scarred, rotating slowly in isolation. Fields of debris that glimmered faintly as they caught distant light. Each passed without ceremony. He began to understand that none of them were destinations. They were markers. Not of progress, but of distance. With every new body he observed, Earth felt less like a place and more like a concept. Something learned once, then set aside. He tried again to remember his name. It came to him slowly, incomplete, like a word heard through water. He did not repeat it. There was no need. The experiment logs continued to update silently. His vitals remained within acceptable ranges. Cognitive function, stable. What they measured, he could not say, but he suspected they were not looking for change. They were waiting for absence. One cycle, the lights did not brighten fully. They remained in a perpetual dim state, casting soft shadows that never quite moved. The capsule adjusted its orientation again, this time revealing a distant glow far ahead. Not a star. Something broader, more diffuse, a region of space thick with dust and light, swirling slowly like a quiet storm frozen in motion. He watched it without trying to name it. The idea of naming felt unnecessary now. Thoughts came more slowly, spaced farther apart. Between them, there was a comfortable emptiness, a pause that did not need filling. He floated there, suspended between worlds he would never touch, moving farther from the one that had once defined him. And for the first time, the idea of returning did not occur to him at all. He noticed it without alarm at first, a small line on the display, barely emphasized, a number lower than it had been before, supply levels. He stared at it longer than necessary, waiting for his mind to supply meaning. It came slowly. Food reserves were no longer stable. The capsule had never explained how long the supplies were meant to last. There had been no schedule, no end date, only continuation. He scrolled through the system logs with slow, careful movements. Consumption rates, projected depletion curves. The line sloped downward, gentle but certain. Not today, not tomorrow, but eventually. The realizations settled into him quietly, like cold seeping through fabric. That cycle, he ate less. Not out of panic, but adjustment. He took smaller portions, spacing them farther apart, chewing slowly, deliberately. Hunger did not arrive immediately. Instead, there was an unfamiliar alertness, a sharpening of thought that faded just as quickly. The next cycle, he reduced intake again. The capsule did not object. No alarms sounded. The systems accepted the change as data. Hunger became a background presence, not painful, but persistent. A reminder that his body still belonged to rules the capsule did not share. He began to think again. Not about Earth, not about the crime that had placed him here, but about landing. The capsule was not designed for it, but it was not explicitly forbidden either. He reviewed the propulsion controls slowly, reading and rereading the same instructions. Course correction was possible, limited, costly. Fuel, like food, was finite. He began to watch the space ahead with renewed attention. Not drifting now, but searching. Planets passed more slowly as he adjusted the capsule's orientation, prioritizing observation over efficiency. Most were unsuitable. Gas giants, vast and turbulent, their surfaces in constant motion. Rocky bodies without atmospheres, exposed and silent. Frozen worlds locked in shadow, their light too weak to promise anything useful. Each rejection drained something from him. Hunger sharpened, sleep became uneven. The hum of the capsule no longer faded entirely into the background. It pulsed, soft but insistent. One cycle, as he floated near the window, he noticed his reflection faintly in the glass. Thinner, eyes more alert than before, still human. He wondered briefly if that mattered to the experiment. The calculations became more frequent. He ran scenarios he barely understood, trusting the capsule's systems to translate intention into movement. Minor burns, small shifts. Each one altered the future slightly. A gamble measured in decimals. Days, or what passed for them, slid together. Hunger deepened, no longer ignorable. He ate only when the dizziness came, then stopped before satisfaction arrived. Endurance replaced comfort. Still, he searched. Then he saw it. At first, it blended with the surrounding darkness, a soft glow barely distinguishable from distant stars. But it did not flicker. It held. He adjusted the capsule's orientation, bringing the object slowly into clearer view. The systems responded with a delay, then stabilized. The glow resolved into color. Blue. Not earth blue, deeper, cooler, edged with silver. A planet. It was smaller than Earth, wrapped in a thin atmosphere that caught light unevenly, creating slow, shifting patterns across its surface. Clouds moved gently, unhurried. He felt something unfamiliar rise in his chest. Not hope, but possibility. The capsule began to register it. Atmospheric presence detected. Surface composition unknown. Risk assessment inconclusive. Inconclusive was better than negative. He recalculated again and again, refining the approach, adjusting angles, conserving fuel wherever possible. Every correction pulled resources away from the future, but the future had already narrowed. This was no longer a search. It was a choice. As the planet grew larger in the window, details emerged. Vast stretches of muted blue-grey terrain, slow-moving cloud systems, areas of shadow suggesting depth, valleys perhaps, shelter. The hunger sharpened into urgency. He initiated descent protocols. The capsule hesitated as if reconsidering. Then systems engaged, one by one, with soft confirmations. Trajectory adjusted. Descent path calculated. Fuel consumption elevated. The planet filled the window now, its curvature undeniable. He pressed himself gently into the seat, adjusting restraints with movements slowed by fatigue. His breathing steadied, not because he was calm, but because there was nothing left to decide. The capsule began to shake, lightly at first. Atmospheric contact. Friction built along the hull, visible only through rising temperature indicators. The blue outside deepened, clouds rushing past in slow layers. He closed his eyes for a moment, not in prayer, not in fear, only to rest. When he opened them again, the descent continued. The planet waited below, silent, blue and unknown. The atmosphere took him slowly. There was no violent entry, no sudden blaze of light. Only a gradual resistance, as if the planet itself were aware of his arrival and chose to acknowledge it carefully. The capsule shuddered, then steadied. Outside the window, clouds moved past in wide, layered sheets of blue and grey. Visibility shifted gently, revealing and hiding the surface below in long breaths. Then something moved. At first, he thought it was a distortion in the clouds, a trick of light caused by friction or fatigue. But it moved again, deliberately. A shape separated itself from the atmosphere, sliding into view with no visible propulsion. Smooth, symmetrical. Neither metallic nor organic, at least not in any way he recognized. It matched the capsule's speed effortlessly. His systems reacted late. Unidentified object detected. Relative velocity stable. No threat classification available. The object positioned itself just beyond the window, close enough that he could sense its presence more than see it. No lights, no markings, only form. The capsule began to slow. Not by his command. His controls responded with resistance, then silence. Inputs acknowledged, but overridden. For the first time since launch, something else had taken hold of his trajectory. A signal reached the capsule, not sound, not image, language, but not immediately understandable. At first it came as patterns, rhythms that settled into his awareness without meaning. They repeated adjusted, softened. Then, gradually, the patterns shifted. Words emerged, his language. State your purpose. The voice was calm, without accent or emotion. Neither male nor female, it did not echo. He did not answer immediately, not because he was afraid, but because no one had asked him anything in so long. State your purpose, the voice repeated. He swallowed, the dryness in his throat sharp after cycles of limited food. I was sent, he said slowly, for a punishment. The word felt outdated the moment he spoke it. I was sent away, he corrected, from Earth. There was a pause, long enough that he wondered if the signal had been lost. Then the voice returned. You are alive. It was not a question. Yes, he said, I think so. Another pause. Why have you come here? He searched for an answer that did not exist. I didn't choose this place, he said at last. I ran out of options. Silence followed again. This time, something changed. The object shifted position, moving slightly ahead of the capsule as if indicating a direction. The capsule responded on its own, aligning gently. You may descend, the voice said, but you will not remain. He did not ask why. The descent resumed. The surface revealed itself slowly. Not barren, not hostile. Cities stretched across the terrain, vast and quiet, built in wide, flowing forms that followed the land rather than reshaped it. Structures rose without sharp angles, blending softly into the environment. There were no visible roads, no vehicles, no smoke, only stillness. The capsule touched down without impact, settling into the ground as if it had been expected. The hatch released with a soft, open sound. Air flowed in, cool, breathable. He stepped out carefully, his legs unsteady after so long in weightlessness. The ground felt solid beneath him, textured but gentle. Figures moved in the distance, human, at least in shape. As they approached, he saw differences, subtle at first. Their movements were unhurried, precise, their faces calm, unlined by urgency or hunger. They looked at him without surprise. You have arrived early, one of them said. The voice was not transmitted now. It came from a mouth, shaped by breath. Early, he asked. This world is not meant for the living, another said gently. They gestured around them. This is where your kind arrives when it is finished. He followed their gaze, and then he saw it. Faces he recognized, not personally, but collectively. The quiet familiarity of humanity across eras. People of different ages, cultures, times, all moving together without friction. No need to hurry, no need to speak unless they wish to. This is where everyone comes, the first voice said. Everyone who has lived on Earth. He felt something tighten in his chest. But they're alive, he said. They're walking. They are complete, the voice replied. They no longer require what the living do. He realized then what was missing. No one ate, no one carried food, no one paused for rest. The air itself seemed to sustain them. His hunger returned suddenly, sharp and undeniable. I still need to eat, he said quietly. The figures looked at one another, not confused but regretful. That is why you cannot stay, one said. This place does not provide for the living. He looked around again, really looking this time. The calm, the absence of need, the stillness that came not from lack, but from fulfillment. And he understood. They had not built a world. They had arrived at one, a place beyond consumption, beyond survival. a place he did not belong. "You were sent away," the voice said softly, "but not far enough." The truth settled into him slowly. Earth had punished him by removing him from the living. This world rejected him because he still was one. Between the two, there was no place left. He stood there, alive among the finished, feeling hunger in a world that no longer understood it. Above them, the sky remained a calm, endless blue. He stayed, not because he was welcome, but because he needed to be certain. At first, he tried to adapt. He walked the quiet paths between the structures, observing how the others existed without effort. They did not gather. They did not rest. They simply were. He attempted to follow their rhythm. He sat when they stood. He stood when they moved. Time passed without measure. Hunger returned again and again, each time more insistent. He searched for something, anything that resembled nourishment. There was none. The planet did not refuse him actively. It simply did not respond to his needs. When he spoke, they listened. When he asked, they answered. But there was nothing they could change. "You are still becoming," one of them said gently. "We are already finished." He tried to sleep among them, resting against the smooth ground beneath a sky that never shifted dramatically. Sleep came briefly, shallow and unsettled. His body still required things this place no longer offered. He realized then that staying was not living. It was waiting. And waiting was not what he had been sent to do. He returned to the capsule quietly. No one stopped him. No one followed. The hatch closed with the same dull, sealed sound it had made before, but now it felt final in a different way. The systems reactivated without comment. Fuel reserves low, food nearly gone. Enough, perhaps, for one more search. As the capsule lifted gently from the surface, the planet did not change. It did not watch him leave. It did not react. It remained what it was. A place for those who no longer needed a future. Space welcomed him the way it always had, without judgment, without promise. The blue planet receded into distance, becoming once again just another glow among many. He did not look back for long. He adjusted his course manually this time, no longer following any calculated trajectory. No experiment, no destination assigned. Only movement. The stars drifted slowly past the window, familiar now in their indifference. Hunger softened into a distant ache. Thoughts slowed. He understood something then, not sharply, but gently. Earth had sent him away because it could not keep him. The planet of the dead had turned him away because he had not finished being alive. Between the two, there was no place prepared for him. And so he chose the only space that asked nothing. The capsule moved deeper into darkness. No signals followed, no voices reached him. He became smaller against the vastness, a single quiet shape drifting where no map extended. A life without witness, without record. Eventually, even the stars thinned. The capsule's light dimmed to conserve what little remained. His breathing slowed, matching the steady hum that had accompanied him since the beginning. There was no anger left in him, only a soft, unnameable sadness. Not for Earth, not for the planet he could not join, but for the simple truth that some lives pass between worlds, belonging nowhere, long enough to be remembered. The capsule continued on, carrying him into the dark, until he was no longer distinct from it. And then, quietly, he disappeared.